a two-man show today. David Hutchison on assignment, so we are manning the controls along with Kevin Woodley and Darren Millard. Welcome to InGoal Radio, the podcast, presented by The Hockey Shop. Source for sports Langley, thehockeyshop.com. Plenty to get to today. The Brian's iconic two-line in our gear segment. Vizual Edge ProReads will feature Filip Gustafson. We've got our parent segment. NHL Sense Arena feature interview is a double dip of content this week. But before we get into all that, how about the big trade that went down between the Edmonton Oilers and the Pittsburgh Penguins? And Tristan Jarry is looked upon as the guy to get Edmonton over the hump.
How about the job that Vaughn did getting Tristan Jarry his gear in time for his first skate, his first game in Toronto? Now, a little caveat there. The only reason that can happen, in addition to Vaughn's expediency, which is, I don't know, Darren, have we ever seen like a same-day turnaround? Trade was in the morning, and by like 2 p.m, they'd posted matching pants, embroidered gloves, pads, everything. Like, I don't know that I've ever seen it that quick, but it doesn't work unless that first game is also in Toronto, which it was, which allowed Kay Whitmore, friend of the show, to come on down, measure it up, and sign off on it. Because remember, every set of gear has to go through Whitmore's offices at the NHL before a goalie can wear it. This was a nice coincidence. The combination of Vaughn being so fast and the game being in Toronto allowed Kay to get that done so that Jarry could look as good as he did. Now we need the stick. That's going to take a little while. That's from the Custom Warrior Factory in Tijuana, so they'll have to turn that around. And time for a new mask. I almost wanted to call someone up in Edmonton, I got a wrap guy that can have this to you by tomorrow. And it won't damage the mask underneath. We'll just put a wrap over top of it so that we can accent how sick that setup.
Who's your wrap guy?
I got Basil at Custom Cages that does a lot of stuff for us. He's actually done one for Kevin Lankinen when they were waiting for a Dave Art mask to arrive. And so the beauty of those wraps is that you can put it on, look great, look pro. Nobody can tell that it's not painted. And then when the new mask arrives, if the goalie, like Tristan Jarry's always got the Dave Freed paints his masks out of Alberta, and it's always got the Tom and Jerry theme on it. They're great. They're one of the best sort of steady themed masks in the NHL. It's always those two cartoon characters in different variations. So if that's a keepsake for him, the beauty of wrapping it temporarily is you just get a hairdryer out, heat up the vinyl wrap so it softens a little bit and it peels right off, and the mask underneath is still a keepsake. So I was really impressed with how they pulled that off. So stick taps to Vaughn for sure, and for Kay Whitmore as well for getting that signed off.
I don't want to take anything away from Vaughn because they had it ready to go, but I have a theory.
They knew
it was, well, they may not have known, but there's enough out there to allow you to be prepared, and you can still move the gear at some point if you have to. I think it was already made.
Possible.
They didn't make that in the morning. Whole set.
Possible. Definitely possible. I've sent a request to sort of find out as much as I can. Not to rat anybody out, because hey,
no, I think it's preemptive. I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah,
for them to do it.
Hat tip for being prepared. Absolutely. Yeah. So and it's one of the things like that. That is one of the benefits of having North American manufacturing is you can turn things around a little quicker. And I mean, it doesn't hurt when it's on Hockey Night in Canada on a Saturday night for his first start. And hey, listen, we got obsessed with the gear, but a reminder for our audience, we did a breakdown. We used ClearSight Analytics because goalie trades are hard to figure out. And the beauty of ClearSight Analytics is they actually have a goalie swap feature, Darren, where you can take team A and insert goalie X into their environment and come out with a number on how many goals they would have saved or let in compared to the guys that were there. And so we did a full breakdown, full article at ingoalmag.com outlining what the analytics, and obviously it's way more than analytics, comfort level, mentally, in a new environment, getting used to new teammates in a new system and the tendencies behind it. Like that all takes time. Jarry's puck handling, how does that affect? There's so many other factors. But
what's the Cole's notes on it?
Cole's notes would be close to 15 goals saved this season if you took Tristan Jarry. And this is interesting, not just Tristan Jarry this season, because Tristan Jarry this season has been exceptional, but Tristan Jarry this season and last season, his combined stats. And last year he cleared waivers and went to the minors. It was not a great year. Finished in, I think, 66 out of 103 goalies in adjusted save percentage combined, and probably weighted more towards last year because that's the larger sample than this year. still saved 15 goals in the Oilers environment this year. But before fans in Edmonton get too excited, only 5 of those were head-to-head with Skinner. The other 10 were with him playing Pickard's minutes. So I think this doesn't tell the full story, but we dug into the exact breakaways and rebounds were 2 of the biggest things that Jarry would have helped them with that weren't happening at a high level, getting saved so far this season. There are some other areas, screens and some net play stuff where he might give up more goals, but the Oilers don't necessarily give up a lot of those chances. So it was a fascinating exercise to go through. And like I said, not an end-all be-all, but just an idea of how it might look. And I'm really curious to sort of see whether, how much the math sort of adds up as we get into this with Jarry in Edmonton. And the other factor is he's comfortable in Edmonton. The irony is they got rid of the goalie coach that he goes back to Edmonton every summer and works with in Dustin Schwartz. I think in a perfect world where they could actually afford it and cap was part of an issue, a tandem of, this is no disrespect to Calvin Pickard in any way, but a tandem of Skinner and Jarry, especially with Jarry having a few injuries over the past few years, might have been a little less risky, but let's see where this goes. He's clearly happy to be there, and he's a really talented goaltender with a lot of upside, a lot more volatility in his game, statistically, but when he's on, and he's been on for most of this season with the Pittsburgh Penguins. So it's a risk I understand them take.
Statistically, is it an upgrade?
Statistically, yes. Statistically, it's an upgrade. On Skinner directly, not a huge upgrade, but it's 5 goals, I think, was what the math said this season. And interestingly enough, the thing I like about the timing for them is if you had done this a month ago, Jarry would have been walking into one of the worst defensive environments in the NHL. That's just no goalie's going to get comfortable behind it because it was totally unpredictable. The mistakes they were making in front of their goaltenders, the porousness of the defending. But in the last 2 weeks, they've gotten way better in terms of their defensive game. So he comes into an environment that's a lot more comfortable. Now, interestingly, in those same 2 weeks, Skinner's numbers have actually started to shoot up, and you could sort of see some of the changes in his game being more comfortable in a more predictable environment with them. And he was really ascending to the point where his numbers over the past 2 weeks are actually better than Jarry's. So there's a lot of sort of curiosity in this decision and a lot of different ways it could go. And at the end of the day, the numbers only tell a sliver of the story, but we were happy to walk through them all in great detail in that article that's up now at InGoalMag.com. So if you've got questions, we've got answers. Thanks to Clearsight Analytics.
We haven't talked in the general media a lot about what this means for Stuart Skinner.
No, and that's, it's a good question. I thought about this in terms of should we have the flip side part of this argument or presentation. I think everybody wanted to. Edmonton's the cup contender, right?
Yes.
Pittsburgh's the likely rebuilding team that's outperformed all expectations. So that was naturally where we went with our first look, and we turned it around within an hour and a half of the trade. So it was a really quick hit to get it up there. I think we do need to give it some time, and I will dig into Skinner's because I think there are some things in his game that have evolved quite nicely this year. He's been a lot more patient with the positioning, starting from a more conservative initial depth, not chasing as much outside of a couple of moments where he really puts pressure on his skating, which I would argue, on the strength to weaknesses scale, lateral mobility is not on the strength side. It's not one you'd check off on that side. And he put himself in a position where he had to move a lot laterally, a lot further laterally at times. But we've seen that improve over the year. Going to be a tougher environment in Pittsburgh moving forward than it was in Edmonton the past couple of weeks.
But a less volatile environment from a
pressure standpoint.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So every time there was a bad game.
For him to see him on that side of it.
Yes, absolutely. And what I don't know is what the future holds for him in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Expiring contract.
And I was on the air. I do regular weekly hits in Edmonton, and I'd said earlier in the week, because they were kind of poo-pooing the Jarry trade. I'm like, listen, Jarry's been excellent this season, so I wouldn't be so dismissive of this concept. It was about 4 days before the trade happened. Tristan's been really good. I know some of the things
that was Edmonton radio, you said? Yeah,
I do that weekly. And so I was lucky. I was kind of lucky because they were, as they came on, they were sort of like, this isn't
great time.
And I'm like, hey, I don't know whether it's happening or not, but don't dismiss how good he's been, when we're discussing this. And I know the work he's put into his game over the last couple of summers. So, and just the same as Skinner has in much shorter summers put in that work. And so I'm looking forward to seeing him get an opportunity away from that spotlight. I talked about defensive environment. Edmonton's had improved in the last 2 weeks, but I saw some articles written like, hey, like Jarry put up these numbers behind a terrible Pittsburgh team, and Stu's put up these numbers behind a great defensive environment in Edmonton. And it hasn't been the case this year. Yes, the Oilers, after Knoblauch took over, were a great defensive team. They were for parts of last season, especially down the stretch. But expected save percentage, which is the environment a goalie plays behind, 886 this year for Skinner and 884 for Jarry. So not really that different between the two this season. It's not like Skinner's walking into a significantly worse environment than what he's faced this year.
So why make this deal?
If you're Pittsburgh? If you're Pittsburgh, I think taking back Skinner was probably part of the salary cap math.
Okay. What about Edmonton?
They didn't want to eat on Jarry. Edmonton, can I be quite honest? And this comes from somebody in the organization. They just didn't feel like they could lose again with Stuart Skinner in net.
Yeah.
And I think,
and I agree with that.
And the GM kind of said that, like it was just time for a change. Like this is just every time they suffered a bad loss, whether the defense was porous or not, the question was right there. And that, much like here in Vancouver, where the Quinn Hughes question became unbearable because it was constant and you could see it weigh on the team. It felt like that was part of this equation. We just needed something different. I still think
you won the Stanley Cup, it wasn't going away, and it's really hard to win the Stanley Cup.
But do you think you could have done it with both of them? Could you have had, because
not with a cap,
right? It's just, but if cap removed,
and I think that would have been tough for Stu as well.
Okay, and that's fair. That's fair. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm excited to see him in Pittsburgh, but I don't know that the long-term future is there. And that's what I said on the radio that day. I didn't think Pittsburgh would necessarily want him back. And that's nothing to do with him. It's just like Murashev is a top 10 prospect in the NHL. When I consulted a dozen NHL goalie directors and goalie coaches this summer to try and get a feel for how they felt about some of the outside, the prospects around the league and how they'd rank them, like he was right there. And so was Joel Blomqvist. And they've got Artur Shilov. So they have a lot of really good young goaltenders coming. And as good as Stu is as a person, that would probably be good in a mentor role. Does he have enough experience to be that? I don't know. So I don't know that his future is long-term in Pittsburgh. He may hit the market as a UFA, and that will be a fascinating part of his career as well. But I hope good things for him in Pittsburgh because he's such a good person and he works so hard at his craft. He's so dedicated to it. And
talks on game day.
Yeah, we like that. We like that. Accountability. You could write a book on like young goalies, parents. Pay attention to how Stuart Skinner handles tough moments. There are great lessons there.
Could he be another Devin Dubnyk, chased out of Edmonton and then finds like an amazing home, one stop or two stops later, in Minnesota? It's got a
potential's there.
I don't know all the analytics about it, but it's got that sort of vibe to it.
Yeah, definitely possible. I think the one difference would be when Devin was in Edmonton, they were a train wreck defensively, like just an absolute train wreck. And I think outside of the start to this season where they sort of looked like that, over most of the past couple of years, they've been a really good defensive team. And so if you put Stu in that environment, absolutely, Darren. But as we see environments get tougher around the league, like I don't know that he's a goalie that is going to have the same level of success if you're asking him to stop bullets in his teeth. And the reality is very few do, right? Like it's pretty much Ilya Sorokin and everyone else. Ilya Sorokin has an expected save percentage of 870, one of the lowest in the leagues. What he's doing in New York right now with the Islanders is not just should be at the top of all Vezina lists at this point of the year, but it's should be in the Hart Trophy conversation. It's Superman stuff for him right now with the New York Islanders.
We'll get to the return of Connor Hellebuyck, as well as a couple of other stories from the American Hockey League and the ECHL. But first, let's slide over to our gear segment, brought to you by The Hockey Shop, source for sports Langley, thehockeyshop.com.
Man, it's such a busy time of the year, and if you haven't gotten your gifts yet and you happen to live in the Lower Mainland, you probably still can hit up our friends at The Hockey Shop, source for sports, to get something under the tree from the gift list that we published last week here at InGoal on the radio podcast and at YouTube. If you're looking to ship it, we might be getting a little tight. Might depend on the size of the item. So make sure you ask them. Check it out. They have no shortage of supplies. Whether it's a jersey of your favorite goaltender, whether it's a hockey stick, a little tough to wrap, mini sticks, Accessories, they've got it all at the Hockey Shop Source for Sports. So whether it's a stocking stuffer or that big ticket item, make sure you hit them up. And if you're a goalie and you don't get that goalie specific item under the tree when Santa ultimately comes on December 25th, remember, there are all kinds of discount items right now at the Hockey Shop Source for Sports as they gear up for a new season of fresh equipment, including a huge launch from our friends over at Warrior on January 1st. There is going to be a bunch of clearance item coming at the Hockey Shop Source for Sports. So, and sales, I know our American friends don't know what Boxing Day is, but up here, it's a big one. So keep an eye out for that shortly after Christmas. Get your gifts from the Hockey Shop Source for Sports, and if you don't get the gift you want, hit them up right after Christmas for savings on that same item.
Just think Black Friday, but at Christmas. That's
pretty much it. Yeah.
what it is.
But we started it first, by the way. Precedes Black Friday, I do believe.
Brian's Iconic 2 this week.
Yeah, a pad and gloves combination that you'd be familiar with, Darren. Carter Hart wearing it with the Vegas Golden Knights right now. Let's have Cam explain to us what's new, what's different, what's changed from the original Iconic.
What is X-Cross technology? We're going to tell you this week as we break down the new Brian's Iconic 2. Cam thinks he's iconic. He's now got a pad that is iconic times 2.
So it's like twice as iconic.
So now we're into my level.
Welcome back to the Hockey Shop Source of Sports. I'm Cam.
I'm Kevin, and we've got Brian's Iconic 2. We're a little late with this one. It's been out for almost a month now.
A hot minute.
Hot minute. Walk me through what's new, including the new... What was it I called it? Come on, Cam. Pick me up here, buddy. Let's go.
Okay, so there's quite a few things to talk about. So what Kevin is currently referring to is
Trying to refer to
is the new core option. So previously, we've only had 2 when it's come to the Iconic line. You've had a regular flex.
Okay.
And then a stiff flex.
Regular and stiff. What do we have now?
And now we have a cross form strap, or X cross. There we go.
X
Cross stiffness.
Okay.
What does that mean?
What is X cross stiffness?
So now the one sits right in the middle, actually. So when we talk about stiffness profile of the pad, we are talking about our portion from here to here.
Okay.
Soft boot, shin of the pad does not change. Any of those 3 options.
Okay. I mean, you're not like you have a lot of flex in the shin of your pad. Let's be honest.
No, they're torsional, but
Torsion. Okay.
yes.
Twisty.
So twisty, exactly. So why you would say want that middle of the road stiffness? So
From here to here.
yes, correct. So one thing we did find with the original Iconic is that soft flex was really, really soft, which is good. There were a few goalies that looking for that extremely, extremely soft pad.
Soft becomes floppy.
That's the only downside of that down the road that can create some of that floppiness to it. So the answer would be to go with that stiffer flex, but then they would also get stuck a little bit in that middle of like, okay, now it's too stiff. So we've gone kind of too far the other way. So what do? Create it in between. So thus we get that X cross core. So
in here, I can see there's sort of like I don't know if this is an actual break point or if that's just to sort of call it out physically, but you can kind of see that there.
like more of a stitch line of the pad itself.
Okay.
That said, in terms of for overall technology, Brycore does make its return to the pad.
Brycore.
Yes.
As
So
opposed to Brocore, which
Brocore.
It's
sounds like the kind of music you used to listen to in college, eh?
it's a quartet he sings in on the weekend. It's called Brocore.
I would listen to that.
Okay. Let's go.
So, carbon, foam, carbon, Brycore.
Carbon in front, carbon in back, foam in the middle.
Correct.
Okay.
So that's creating, again, what our stiffness profile is. That's also helping with your
Consistency to the flex as well.
consistency with rebounds as well.
Oh, there you go. Active rebound.
Yes.
All right.
Enough about the core. Back to the pad.
Switcheroo.
At its current setup, very, very similar to what you see in the original Iconic. A little bit of a redesign on actually how the knee, outer knee flap attaches to the pad itself. It's been new. It's just in terms of being able to
Couple
Velcro it.
Velcro straps.
Option to remove it at custom level. Furthermore, there is another additional option in terms of for strapping system. So we still kept it on the traditional side of things. But they do have their X-Cross strap, which literally stitches that knee strap to that calf strap and all goes as one.
Combined as one piece, or
Yes.
you can move it around.
Combined as one piece.
So that, and what is that called?
They're cross-form strap. There we go.
Cross-form strap. So on the cross-form strap model, you can order this would all just basically be one.
That's correct.
Not sure why you'd want that, but okay. Is that?
Hey, it's an option.
I'm guessing you asked the same question because you ordered it without.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, personal preference, keep things easy. I mean, if you really only want it to be like one strap, it could be.
I guess that would be the benefit. Just grab it and go.
So updated in terms of further upper control strap, very similar to the one you find on the Optic 4. This one offers a little bit more give. It's actually
got some
elasticized.
flex,
Yeah, exactly. So the last
Super easely to attach on both sides. I like
very easy. Yes, and the whole tabs just lace in and out. So say you don't want it, you can just get rid of it very easily. Definitely a recommended spec for sure. And a welcome upgrade over the Iconic one, which was just a nylon, not the flexible plastic.
This is an X-Flex pad, as we see
Yes.
on the bottom. We got the smart strap
Boot
system.
returns. And again, we still have our smart toe system. That makes a return. You still get your wonderful
Opti-Slide.
Primo material.
What is it called? Opti-Slide? I forget what brand has what.
That's, but I mean, it is like
It's
Opti-Slide. Yeah,
And then the
on the right track.
high wear area under here. Now, we noticed that there's a defined boot channel here, Tim. Always been on Optic a defined boot channel? Is there any change in fit with this?
No.
Okay.
So we're still like walking around the same fit idea. It's just added some more durability aspect to the side of the pad. Usually a high wear area, especially with Velcro toe ties are attached. Just again, a nice little added feature. And
Primo here on a high wear area. I like
That's
that the inner calf pillow is segmented.
Mhm.
So you get a little bit of support in your butterfly with a pillow.
You get more of that wraparound connection feel.
Yeah, the way it's segmented, it's got some flexibility in it as well, both in terms of getting to the ice with your leg, but as you said, if you want to wrap it tight, you're going to feel that connection. All
Okay, really quick, finishing off.
Nice
So-
material here too.
Yes, nice overall, their actual suede material. On top of that, nice thick knee stack as well. Great for that butterfly support. Great for stability of the
That's
pad
what I
as
said.
well.
A little bit of flex, but still, so it's not like some of the brands have gone to a full fixed connection to the
Correct.
face of the pad. A little more traditional in build, but there's some stability there.
Correct.
Graphic, can't really see it in white. That's Cam's fault. Gloves.
Hey, it's on purpose.
Okay. That's a color.
Yeah, so we picked some of the most fabulous colorway to do.
I actually kind
the
of like
login.
it. I kind of like it.
Hey, it stands out, right?
Yes, it does.
What's the whole point? So,
Iconic 2 glove. Let's go.
yes, glove-wise, again, if you're familiar with the Iconic, you're going to be familiar with this. If you're familiar with genetic gloves, you're still going to be familiar with this. So the same 35-degree closure along the actual seam of the glove itself. Very snappy closure out of the box. Things that have changed. So new dial system,
It's not BOA anymore, but it's the same.
and it's not ATOP anymore. It is now Moaz, another new supplier with them. So we're back.
What?
Moaz.
I'm going to leave that one alone for now.
It's a new dial, ladies and gentlemen. You know what? We're back to that pop-up and snap. Bricore in the cuff. It still gives that rigidity, a nice stable platform in terms of any of those cuff shots that you do get. Again, nice wide open presentation.
Well, it's always had great pockets.
Don't forget
Skate
about
lace,
those beautiful T5s.
double T.
Redesigned the
Nice.
backhand a little bit more too as well. And another good call out, they've reinforced the finger stalls quite a bit more. So again, help to prevent getting some of that finger curl over time for this glove.
Okay, so you mentioned 35-degree break. That's their nomenclature. What is it compared to in the 590, 580, 600 world of things? We have a whole full video on this that you can go watch,
Yes.
but just as a refresher.
600-ish, 590 kind of.
Between the two-ish?
Yes.
Sort of?
Yes.
Okay. So
You get that big style of
you
that
just had it
open
on your
pocket.
hand.
Yeah.
How does it close?
So you still feel more of that like 590-ish closure,
So fingers into here.
but you're getting that 600 presentation.
Okay. Blocker, which I have, actually feels a little more streamlined on my hand.
Ish. I would say in terms of overall, like if any of the pieces that had the least amount of change, we're staring at it.
So
But yes, like you still get that same like Bricore technology coming into the blocker itself. Again, the updated dial system as well. In terms of for overall feel wise, if you like the Iconic blocker, you're gonna like this. To me, it does feel like they have lightened it up a little bit, just in terms of taking out some of that weight.
board thickness.
But beyond
I don't
that,
know what it is. It just feels a little more streamlined than some of the past ones I've worn.
that's correct.
All right. Okay. There it is. Brian's Iconic 2. Cam, I don't think we can let you go without one of your signature Iconic. What are we talking about today? Iconic. There we go. He believes he's iconic, folks. And where can you get this icon on the phone to talk about the new Brian's line?
604-589-1899 or 1-800-567-7790. Don't remember, you can be iconic too.
Oh, Iconic 2. I love it. Good job.
Yeah, you mentioned Carter Hart wears it. I appreciate what Carter does with the blocker. He's got his number up there, a little old school, a little like 70s, 80s with the number bold on the blocker.
I like that look. I don't, it's funny. I was going to say Igor Shesterkin also wearing Iconic too, but I'm not sure if he's still an Optic guy or if he's switched over to the Iconic line for this season. And it's hard to tell because his custom pads don't actually bear the logo, the line logo on them. He's always got the full custom without that on it. So I'm genuinely not sure. I'm probably should be able to tell with a closer look, but to be honest, it's been so nutty around here lately. Thank you, Quinn Hughes trade, that I haven't even had time to look.
The Shesterkin Century setup is beautiful.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. And it's good. Like the outdoor game, like that look with the vintage. It count me all in for that. I would. Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that I had 11 home games to cover here in Vancouver, I think a trip to Florida would suit me just fine on January 1st.
ProReads brought to you by Vizual Edge. Talking to Filip Gustafson about what he's doing in the crease, and you can discuss and talk to us about Vizual Edge.
Do you want the puck to look like a beach ball? It rarely does for me, but it seems to be the goal for most. Every goalie has that night here and there where the puck looks huge, you're ahead of every play, calm, patient, in total control. Then there are the nights where you're a half step late. I know those well. You see it, but you don't really see it. You're reaching, guessing, you're fighting it. It's not your technique. It's your eyes and your brain not processing the play fast enough. Vizual Edge fixes that. It measures how well your eyes track and process the game, then gives you a custom plan that trains it. 3 15-minute sessions every week are all you need to do. On your laptop, on your tablet, wherever you need to do it, easy. On the couch, no problem. It's what NHL goalies use to make the game slow down when it matters most. And of course, as a sponsor of InGoal Magazine's ProRead segment, anyone gets a discount using the code InGoal. You double your discount as a member. Just check out the latest ProReads to get your member-only discount code on Vizual Edge. Be a great gift, I think, for parents listening, for kids over Christmas, an easy one to access quickly. And that ProRead segment this week brings us to Filip Gustafson, his first appearance. Hopefully first of many. Our new ability to sort of walk into the room with an iPad and clips ready enabled us to get this one with Gustafson. A quick bus prevented us from getting more, but he seemed to enjoy it so much that we have connected since, and there's talk of doing more over a Zoom type call. And I think when you watch this week's Darren, you'll realize why we're so eager to do more with him. Really thinks the game well, articulates it well, and in this case, a play behind the net and how to avoid sort of that looking back and forth over different shoulders and getting lost and losing the puck. He makes a simple save out of a tough situation by anchoring himself to one post and not leaving it until he's visually connected over the opposite shoulder, making sure he doesn't abandon both his visual attachment, which we have to as the puck moves back and forth behind the net, and his position at the same time. He's got one anchored while he finds the other. It's a great approach to managing post play and managing pucks behind the net with scoring threats out front. And the way that Gus walks us through it with the video, controlling the iPad, is the kind of thing you don't get anywhere else but at InGoal Magazine. Reminded me of the video we did with Bill Ranford on the LA Kings sort of blocker side dominant shoulder position system that they use down there. There was a lot of that in the way Gustafson explained it. It was a great breakdown from a goalie who manages his posts as well as any in the NHL. I remember talking about Marc-Andre Fleury last year, talking to him about Gus and about some of the things that he did that made him exceptional. And that was the first thing that Flower pointed out, the way he works his posts. So Gus walked us through that system in this week's ProReads presented by Vizual Edge. You can see that, of course, at ingoalmag.com. And as we mentioned earlier, if you're a member, get into that article and get your double the discount code for your membership at Vizual Edge as well.
I was doing some work this week with a couple of guys, and there's some puck play behind the net. And I was thinking about the Bill Ranford approach to the puck being behind the net. It was with the teammate, so I was able to be a little more relaxed and a little more just casual about it and really think about it. It's a neat approach when you have time to really dig into it. Not a lot of us we go out there, we have 3 quick shots and we play. So it was an interesting approach, and I like it.
I was trying to execute it earlier this season more consistently in one of my drop-in skates. You're right, though. It's hard when the pace comes up, but you can totally see as you rep it out and get more comfortable with it, if you can make it an innate sort of staple, you can easily see the benefits. And like I said, Gustafson does a great job in this video. So I'm really excited to hopefully do more videos with him in the future. And listen, folks, like if you don't already have a membership to InGoal magazine for our pro reads, we have a ton more new guests being able to walk in with the iPad into the room. They're not the same hour-long sit-downs we've had in the past with the Hellebuycks and the Demkos, but we're able to get so many more different voices. We got another couple with Alex Lyon coming up. We got UPL, got a few more with Cam Talbot. There's going to be a ton more voices in Pro Reads this season, so make sure you get your membership to InGoal Mag and InGoal Magazine Premium, because there is no better way to read the game or to play with and get to understand how an NHL goalie implements a system like this in real time.
You mentioned the name Connor Hellebuyck, who returned off of injury and posted a beautiful performance. His perfect game ruined late in a victory over the Washington Capitals. I don't know how they do it. It's not the first team that I would want to play against, but Hellebuyck jumped right back in there and was very comfortable.
If I'm not mistaken, it was just a 5-on-3 goal late too that ruined his bid for another shutout. It's interesting. I know Scott Arniel pointed out that it's also the first time they've had everyone healthy this season. Like it wasn't just Hellebuyck coming back. I'm going to run through the numbers today to sort of see what the models look like. And this is kind of goes to my point about Hellebuyck being the MVP last year. It wasn't even his best season from a statistical standpoint. Like in terms of the saves he made and relative to the environment, it wasn't his best year. His other Vezinas have actually been better statistically. But I think you have to give credit to the impact that Connor Hellebuyck has on the Winnipeg Jets and the buy-in they get defensively, knowing that if they do and execute their system, he will take care of everything else. And so I think during that gap, injuries were part of it. I want to look into the numbers while he was out because everyone's going to point to the Comrie Hellebuyck sort of difference. But the reality is I think they play so much better when he's in there. Like I think there's just a belief.
They were porous without
they let
Hellebuyck.
Right. They left Eric. Like I still think last year, the way they played defensively and the way they were scoring, if this happens last year, Comrie's fine. I just think they weren't as good a team this year. But I do wonder, again, how much of that is we need to give Connor Hellebuyck credit for the way he inspires his teammates to defend better and the way they play in front of him.
Former partner of Connor Hellebuyck's making headlines as Laurent Brossoit attempts his comeback after a lengthy time off playing for the Rockford Ice Hogs, and he's 2-1 to start, but that's not why we're talking about LB.
Goalie goal, baby. We love us a goalie goal. And I got to admit, with all due respect to LB, hopefully he doesn't get. I did not have him on my list of next to scores. Right? Like I mean, I didn't know he had. I was unfamiliar with your game, sir. I did not realize he had that in him to take that shot. We've seen a few goalies around the league over time.
It was a good chuck.
It was a good chuck. I mean, it wasn't quite Linus Ullmark at the far hash marks. I think it landed outside the far blue line, but he got it over a forechecker in the neutral zone or a defender in the neutral zone. And it was from behind the net. You know, how much have we talked about? I think we just talked about this recently. All the recent goals have been from goalies being able to catch a puck in front of the goal line and fire away. This was from behind the net. That's a hell of a job by Laurent Brossoit. So exciting times for him. It's been a difficult time. I think a lot of people thought he might be done, but he's battled back. He had the hip surgery that seems to have been the real issue they discovered as opposed to chasing fixes with the knee. He's back. He's healthy and curious to see where the future lies. Because don't forget, this is a guy who his last season in Winnipeg was exceptional. He was in high demand as a free agent, chose Chicago, and basically then the injuries came and he basically never played. Now that he's back, may depend on willingness to maybe eat salary to move on by the Blackhawks down the stretch because he is on a $3 million ticket. But he's a guy that might help a lot of teams if they need some insurance policies in the second half of a season where we've seen injuries so prevalent. He's a guy that can still play, and nice to see him back. Like I said, chucking sauce is not how I expected to describe Laurent Brossoit's return, but kind of exciting to see.
Yeah, you're just trying to get back in the game and healthy. Then you go out and score.
Yeah,
Make it happen.
Where you know what that is? That reminds me of the t-shirts when he used to crush everyone at the workouts up in Cologne, and everybody said we should have t-shirts that say FULB on them because he's always killing it. There's probably a lot of guys like, oh yeah, he's gone for a year, comes back and scores a goal.
Scores.
Like, to heck with you, LB.
Hutch will join us in just a second with the parent segment brought to you by Stop It Goaltending U, the app.
Well, 25 years of NHL goalie experience at your fingertips. Sound pretty good to you, Darren? That's pretty good to me.
I would take it.
That's what you get from the Stop It Goaltending U, the app. You get all the expertise of Brian DeCord and his staff. They've been doing this for over 25 years at Stop It Goaltending U, the brick and mortar coaching facilities that they have in the Boston area. Brian's been a goalie coach for the Boston Bruins. He's been a goalie scout for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's been a director of goaltending for the Arizona Coyotes, and now is the director of goaltending for the Detroit Red Wings. He's, of course, the parent of Joey DeCord of the Seattle Kraken. Kind of cool to see them on the dad's trip recently this week. Saw some of those photos. Looked like a good time for father and son. But all that expertise, not just from Brian, but from the staff he's built of goaltending experts at Stop It, all condensed into something you can access on your phone or tablet. The app, Stop It Goaltending U. Every week you get new daily primers. You get breakdowns on NHL goalies. You get drills every week that you can take out on the ice to help make you a better goaltender. All that content, new every week from the Stop It Goaltending U app. And as a bonus, you get to access our best stuff at InGoal. Every membership to Stop It Goaltending U, the app, comes with an InGoal premium membership. It's the best of both worlds in goaltending to help you make more saves. The Stop It Goaltending U app, make sure you check it out on the App Store or Google Play Store, wherever you access apps for your devices.
Not here for the full episode, but David Hutchison did leave us with this parent segment. Hutch.
Thanks, Darren. Holiday breaks, pressure, and doing what's right for your goalie. One thing I really want to talk about around the holidays is the break we often take from hockey, and especially from goaltending. That break matters, and what it looks like should be different from every goalie and every family. That's actually the whole point. There's no single right way to handle the holidays, and I want to be very clear about that, because this is a time of year when a lot of parents feel pressure. Pressure created almost entirely by comparison and FOMO, the old fear of missing out. You see other hockey families skating. You see posts about camps and lessons. You hear about extra ice, extra training, extra everything. And suddenly, it can feel like doing nothing is a mistake. It's not. If your goalie needs a break, physically, mentally, emotionally, and you take one, that's 100% okay. In fact, for a lot of kids, it's exactly what they need. Rest is not lost development. Recovery is part of training, and it's part of development. On the flip side, if your team doesn't get much goalie coaching and you feel like the holidays are a good time to go to a camp and take a couple of private lessons, that's great too. If your goalie's energized by it and excited to learn, go for it. On the other hand, maybe what you need isn't training at all. Maybe it's stick and puck or shinny. Maybe it's throwing on skates as a player, messing around, laughing, shooting pucks with friends, and remembering why the game is fun in the first place. That counts. And if what your family needs is to take the gear off entirely for a week or two and just be a family, that counts too. Some of you will have Christmas tournaments booked. If that's the case, my hope is that you can frame those as experiences, not evaluations. Fun, not pressure. Memories, not measurements. Here's the key point I really want parents to hear. 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever you choose, that time will not break your goalie's game, not today, not this season, not over the course of a career. What can cause problems is doing things out of fear. Training because you're afraid of falling behind. Skating because everyone else is skating. Pushing because you feel pressure instead of purpose. That's how burnout sneaks in. Quietly, gradually, often with the best of intentions. I've said this many times, and I'll keep saying it. There is nothing more important in this game than having fun. Fun keeps kids engaged. Fun keeps them learning. Fun keeps them wanting to come back. So whatever your holiday break looks like, more hockey, less hockey, or no hockey at all, if it's right for your goalie and right for your family, you're doing it right. Trust that. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to everyone in the Goalie Union.
Hutch as a goalie dad of a Western Hockey League player, it had me thinking about Little Hutch, Big Hutch, when I saw Jacob Fowler make his National Hockey League debut and the emotion that mom displayed.
That was so cool, eh? Like, just you're smiling the whole way. And I mean, the kid's obviously an incredible talent. We talked about that list I did this summer, talking to goalie directors and goalie coaches about the top prospects around the league. Jacob Fowler was top 5 on every list, if not top 2 in most. So an incredible talent. I know maybe they didn't plan on using him this early this year, but to have a game like he did on that stage and to see his mom reacting that way, the emotions of it, like just it warmed the heart, frankly. We get a little bitter and old in this game sometimes as journalists, but that one was exciting. The entire goalie union was sitting there and with him, and I'm guessing I'm not a goalie parent myself, but I'm guessing the entire goalie parent union was sitting with her in that moment and soaking it all in with her and the emotions that come with it. It's a tough job being a goalie parent, but when you get to see the rewards like that, it makes you smile.
Didn't go his way, but his second start's at MSG, and he faces a penalty shot and then goes to a shootout in that one.
And Shesterkin at the other end.
Yes.
Right? Like I thought it was interesting that the Canadians were trying to downplay, the impact, right? Like trying to sort of lessen the stage. Although I don't think that this young man worries about that. Like the stage, I don't think, got some tough bounces in New York, but I don't think it had anything to do with the stage. Just like making his debut against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Did you see the list of Canadians goalies who have won their debut against the Pittsburgh Penguins?
No.
Ken Dryden, Carey Price.
What?
Yeah.
Against Pittsburgh.
Specifically against Pittsburgh. And
random.
Yeah, and you know what, Darren? Patrick Waugh. I forgot. I was brain cramping on the third. All 4 now, Jacob Fowler becoming the 4th, have made and won their NHL debut against Pittsburgh. So, hey, listen, kid, no pressure, but we're going to do the same thing. Like, this comparison is going to exist now forever. So, all 4. Nothing like going into a franchise with that tradition of goalie history and immediately getting on a list that includes Dryden, Waugh, and Price. That's
Wild, that synergy.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know who pointed it out first. I'd love to give credit. I saw it all over the internet before and after the debut. And like I said, I'm not sure where it originated, but kudos for whoever did that research. It's a great stat, and it's kind of crazy, and maybe it's a little bit of foreshadowing.
We've got a couple of interviews this week on the feature interview brought to you by Sense Arena. NHL Sense Arena with an unbelievable way to prepare yourself for the game. Ian Clark coming up. We'll tell you all about what's happening with Ian Clark and the relationship there, and more access to the Ian Clark catalog of information. But first up, Kayle Osborne from the PWHL, part of the NHL Sense Arena feature interview.
Well, speaking of NHL Sense Arena, our friend Kazimir Kaskisuo had a shutout in the ECHL last night. So fist pump there. We're not going to take credit as an in-goal bump, but I'm willing to bet he would spread some credit to the folks at NHL Sense Arena for how he uses their product to prepare, as he told us in last week's feature interview, not just between games, but actually on game day to get ready to play. It is just the latest pro validation that we've had for how good NHL Sense Arena is as a product, how legit it is. This is not just a game, although it has been gamified to keep young goalies engaged, but it is not just a video game. This is real training. It is the best way to get ice time when you can't get on the ice. So if you're a young minor hockey goalie and you're only playing once a week, you maybe got to practice every 2 weeks, you don't have to wait to get your reps. You can get them in the virtual reality world with NHL Sense Arena. They've got specials on right now. Date's getting a little tight to get shipped a full headset, but you can order NHL Sense Arena if you already have a virtual reality headset and make that the gift under the tree this year for the goaltender in your life. There's still plenty of time for that. So make sure you check them out. NHL Sense Arena. They've got tons of options, unbelievable training. It's always evolving. You can play the new sort of game style where it's just a constant flow rather than drill after drill, much like playing a game. You can work on screens. You can work on tracking. You can work on anything you can work on the ice using NHL Sensor in it. As a matter of fact, you can work on some of it a lot better. So check it out. I know Kaz would have used it this week heading into his ECHL shutout debut. And obviously just further validation of how good a tool this is.
Tell me about your conversation with Kayle Osborne.
First one. So this is kind of a get to know you with Kayle Osborne. For me, for our friends at InGoal, for a young goaltender who is already starting for the PWHL New York Sirens and had an incredible start to the season. For a young goaltender who has put herself on the map with Hockey Canada, was a part of the rivalry series that recently completed on that roster for Canada. For a young goaltender who I didn't know all that well, just a great chance to catch up, find out about her roots in the game, her path in the game, the evolution of her game through college and now into pro. And someone I think we're going to be hearing a lot more about, not just with the New York Sirens of the PWHL, but with Canada moving forward. So just a chance to get to know her and her game a little bit.
Enjoy the feature interview brought to you by NHL Sensorina with Kayle Osborne.
Really excited. First time guest on the InGoal Radio podcast. We're in the process of educating her about what InGoal is all about. Kayle Osborne of the Sirens, PWHL, New York, first year starter, second year pro, off to a great start. Has this been a step to go from playing what you played last year to playing as much as you've played now? What's been the biggest jump?
Honestly, I think that kind of last year was a really good building block for me. I had two really good goalie partners in Corinne Schroeder and Abby Levy that kind of honestly set me up for success this year. They were great mentors for me and I learned a lot from them. So I think this kind of next step was just kind of playing consistently. And I think I've been doing that pretty well. The start to this season has been great. So honestly, I think those two really set me up for success this year.
What kind of lessons what are the most important lessons? We talk about the importance of mentorship. Is it technical? Is it tactical? Or is it more about just what to expect as a pro and all the things that come with this environment compared to college?
I'd say a little bit of both. Obviously, those two are very different goaltenders in the way that they play. So I think technically I learned a lot from Schroeds, who was goalie partner last year. And then Abby Levy just kind of had to be a pro, show up every day and do the right thing. So that both of those kind of taught me like what to do and what to expect, especially in big games, big crowds. Like obviously we played maybe not at home, but on the road in a lot of big crowds. And I got a taste of that last year. So kind of coming in this year, a lot less nerves, having played in that before and received like kind of tips and guidance from them last year. So it made it this year a lot easier for me.
I mean, obviously at Colgate, you played in front of some big crowds there too, and in national tournaments. What's the difference? Like, is there a difference, or is it a matter of sort of trying to approach it like it's not any different?
I would say a little bit of both, but more like there is a lot more fans. Like going in for say Montreal's home opener is like no other. They're on top of you. They're loud. They cheered everything. And even playing in Seattle the other night, it was insane. And honestly, I've never played in anything like that in college. I got a little bit of a taste with that with the rivalry series, but nothing like the fans in the crowd that the PW in those markets have brought. So I think that coming into this year, I was honestly a lot less nervous than I thought I'd be. And I had a lot less nerves than say I did last year in games.
Okay, so advice now for young goalies at every level. If they get into a moment that's new to them, feels big to them, the crowd feels on top of them. How do you manage nerves? What methods have you learned over the years to sort of manage those situations so you can be at your best?
For me, personally, I am not super serious. I'm the most laid back, take it easy before the game, play a little sewer ball and have some fun kind of goalie. So I would just say believe in yourself. Like nobody else is going to give you the confidence to be there. And obviously, if you're in that big moment, you're there for a reason. So I would say trust the work that you've put in prior to that and then just go out there and have fun and play your game. You're going to be playing your best when you're at your loosest, having fun. So that would be my advice is just go in and have fun.
Okay, so when you say staying loose, you're not like the old stereotype of a goalie that's like, nobody can talk to me on game day.
If nobody talked to me on a game day, I would be very sad. I would be so upset.
Okay, so that there's an important lesson there though, because sometimes we've run into it right up to the NHL where there's an expectation that goalies are this serious, stoic, leave me alone. Is it important to be yourself on a game day? Find what it is that helps you be yourself and be your best and not give in to those stereotypes.
Absolutely. I think honestly, your teammates probably know you best and know what you need. And there is still goalies out there that need that and like that. But I think if you get to know your goalie and they're kind of a fun-loving, happy-go-lucky, love to joke around, like nothing's got to change on a game day just because it's a game day, whether it's a big game, it's not a big game, it's a scrimmage, whatever it is. Just if nothing changes on a game day, no matter who you're playing or where you're playing it.
Okay, so getting to know your goalie, Kayle Osborne, growing up Ontario, how did you become a goaltender?
Okay, so this is actually a bit of a crazy story, but
we like those.
I had no interest in being a goalie, honestly, like none. And then my sister became a goalie. And I'm the youngest of 3. So I was like, there's no way that someone is going to be better than me at something. So I told my mom, I was like, I want to put on the pads. Like, I want to get in there. And she was like, all right, like you can have one shot. Like everyone got to play at that age, kind of like, I was around 5 or 6. Everyone got a game. And my mom was like, yeah, like she can go. She won't like it. Like she's just doing it to have a competition, like whatever. Because my sister was a full-time goalie. And I put the pads on and honestly, I never looked back. And that was probably my mom's biggest regret. Having 2 goalies in the family, but my sister doesn't play anymore, so just me. But that would be how I became a goalie.
I feel like it's every parent's worst night. I mean, it should be a good thing to have 2 goalies in the family, but it's a tough position on the parents.
Oh, 100%. I don't think my mom speaks during games. She will sit by herself and not say a word.
Inspirations early, like who? I mean, you had a bigger sister that played. Who were some of your early inspirations in goaltending, and when did you get to a point where it's like watching them versus maybe trying to emulate them?
I think Carey Price was huge for me growing up. I loved him. I thought he was such a good goaltender. So as a young kid, I watched him, and because now people have the PW to watch and young girls do, but I mean, there was nothing to watch at that age when I was a kid. So in the 2010 Olympics, I remember watching Shannon Zabados, and I was like, oh my God, I want to do that one day. Like, that is so cool. I want to be her. And obviously watch her career, and never met her, but she's an amazing goalie. And that's kind of those 2 would be 2 that I really looked up to, I would say, playing, watching them play. So yeah.
Her game was so refined technically, even back then. Yeah. Like there were NHL like goalies that didn't move as well as Shannon did technically and tactically. Was there a point where you're watching her, you want to be her, like her, you want to be on that stage? When did you get to that point where you're like, maybe technically you're studying, or goalie coaches that would point to things where you started to develop that side?
Honestly, this is pretty rare for me, but I never had a goalie coach growing up. So I honestly didn't have a goalie coach until I got to college. So for myself, that technical piece of my game came really late. I would honestly say like my freshman, sophomore year of college, it came. And like if you looked at footage from my junior career or even my freshman year of college, the difference is night and day in me technically. And I think that compete and that just drive to make every save can take you a long way. And I think that's a special lesson for goaltenders, that like you don't have to be the most technically sound at that age, but if you have compete and you work hard, like that can take you very far. So honestly, for me, that technical piece came my sophomore year of college. I started working with Top Prospects Goaltending in Chris Krob and Brad Kirkwood. So they really took my game to like another level. And that's when I really started noticing like changes in my game and a real jump.
Give me some examples. Just some things that other people might hear and take away. Like, where did that focus? Where was it directed in the beginning? And how's your game evolved in college to here?
Yeah, so a big thing for me was my stance. I would play very wide and I played back on my heels, which is honestly a recipe for disaster if you look at it now in the game, and my hands were back. So as I kind of went along in my college career, you'll see my stance narrow, and especially from my freshman year to even last year to now, my stances have been a huge piece of why I think I've been successful at this level. And even last year, like just when to set, like you'd be in that tall stance a lot longer in college, whereas like the release here is a lot quicker. So you need to be in that set stance just a little bit earlier.
Getting that time, and is that something you work on in practice? We know that tall and narrow is a trend around all different parts of goaltending, but being comfortable in it, and like you said, knowing when to transition is a key part. Yeah,
absolutely. So I think not as much this year I've worked on it, because I think that's kind of like been a little bit more of a staple in my game this year, which has been great, and especially something I've worked on all summer. So not as much timing that I'm working on this year as like kind of that narrow stance and keeping my hands in front. So I would say last year, absolutely. That was one of the biggest things I noticed jumping from college to pro game was that you need to be set in your stance a lot sooner, because that release is a lot more deceptive here. You have players that can really shoot the puck, and if you're not set in that stance, you're just going to be on your heels and your weight's going to be back.
If you were to describe your game for me, how would you describe it?
I would honestly just say competitive.
That's still a core foundation.
100%. There's times where technique goes out the window and it's just all the compete you have. And I think I've seen that in a few saves this year that haven't looked the technically soundest, but I think that it can take you a long way. As you've added that technical element and that foundation, how do you find that balance between the two? Because you never want to lose that compete, right? Are there times where you find yourself in practice maybe getting a little too rigid, a little too structured, or how do you walk that line? You work with your goalie coach on that. Yeah, definitely. It's something we work on, but I think I'm more losing the technique before I lose the compete, which is a good thing for me because that compete's always there, but it's learning when to, all right, like compete's not needed here. It's an easy save. Just let it come to you. So kind of walking that side of the line, whereas being more rigid is not something that I've experienced so far.
the mental side of the game? Any advice or tips that you picked up along the way that might resonate with younger goalies who are, hoping to be the next Kayle Osborne?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of stereotype around you need a ton of routine and this and that, and you have to do the same thing every single day. I'm actually the complete opposite. If I wake up and feel like I need to go for a walk one day, or I wake up and I feel like, oh, I don't feel like doing anything, like that's what works for me that day. And I found, honestly, especially playing more games this year, is the less routine I have, the more fun I've had, the more enjoyable it's been for me. If I'm waking up every day on a game day and thinking I have to do 10 things before I even can get to the rink, I'm not having fun anymore. So I think the biggest thing for me is do what feels best for your body, what feels best mentally, and it's going to work. Like, you don't need a ton of things that you have to do every single game to play your best.
How are you adjusting to this schedule? The demands of it, travel, things like that. You obviously went through it last year, but college is mostly weekends. It's a big step up. What's that adjustment been like in terms of managing your time, managing your rest, while still getting the reps in to manage your game?
Yeah, it's been honestly quite the difference, especially with this. This is the first time we've ever been out to Seattle, Vancouver. So it's been a bit different, and that plane ride was very long. But just we have a great team behind us, great ATs and great staff. And I think that they're doing everything to set us up to feel our best and play our best. And it's working because I think a lot of our team feels great, and me, myself included. So yeah, I think that using the resources that are available to you, and then obviously putting in the work yourself, doing mobility and doing all the things that make your body feel good.
What are some of the things that you've learned, like on that side of it, in terms of taking care of yourself and making sure you do that? Well, where's the focus on it? Is mobility the primary one?
Yeah, mobility. And then I'm really big in ice baths. So mobility and ice baths have been huge for me. And I think they've kind of given me a little routine of mobility things to do that are going to help me loosen up and feel my best. So I've just honestly been sticking with that and making sure that every single day I can get in like a walk or some kind of mobility. And it's done wonders for me, how my body's feeling.
Okay. So sort of cliched stereotype goalie question. Are you a gear geek? Because you have sick gear style, but are you like, how much attention do you pay to the equipment side of things?
I mean, if you see me using a Bauer stick and CCM everything else, like I'm probably not that big of a gear nerd because that's a tough look.
But the rest of the look is good. Like, is it one of those things where like you just figure out what works for you, or do you geek out at all on the details of your equipment and how it's set up, or just, hey, this works for me, build me more of this? I
know it might be like a bit of a hot take, but I hate designing gear. So
you're not a back of the napkin, not even on masks?
No, nothing. It actually is like, I feel a weight on my shoulders when I have to do that because I'm like, another one? Like I just did some last year, which it's a bit sad.
So who do you trust? Because it looks good.
Gord, our goalie coach, he has been phenomenal at that. And honestly, he gave me my idea for this year. So I'm going to give all the credit to him this year.
Not just a great goalie coach, and we know Gord a little bit, but also a great gear designer. That's awesome.
Himself might be a gear nerd.
We'll grab him on the podcast shortly then. Kayle, thank you so much for taking the time, especially ahead of a big game tomorrow. Really appreciate it. Continued success this year. And we'll get you set up with an InGoal subscription so you can figure out what it is we do.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. And it was a pleasure being on it.
Always fun to get to know new goaltenders along the way. We've been doing this long enough that it feels like you've talked to everybody in the game.
It does. And it's funny because I like it when it's people we haven't talked to. And I think there's some great young goaltenders coming up in the PWHL, like some great young goaltenders, as well as some incredible established veterans that we've seen on the international stage and the Olympics over the years. It's such an exciting time for the women's game. We talk about like Gwyneth Phillips, right? Didn't know her until the playoffs really last year. We got to know her in her game and how good she is last year with Ottawa. Well, Emrance Mashmeyer, one of the more established names that we'd had on, was out with an injury. And then we got to know her on the podcast this summer. And I was even more impressed. So there's a whole list of young goalies coming up through the PWHL that we're going to try and bring to you through this podcast, get to know them, as well as some goalie coaches from the PWHL, some of whom I know already from past experiences, some of whom I don't. So look for us to kind of try and continue this and make sure that we've got the PWHL well represented here on the podcast, bringing you some new voices, some new backgrounds, and some new lessons and takeaways, tips, different way of looking at things. That's what it's all about for a position that's, never the same, constantly evolving. And we're excited to bring you more of those voices here.
I'm always excited when Ian Clark pops up on the list of discussion points. Tell me about what's going on with Ian.
Well, we recently had the opportunity to reconnect with Ian on the ice to shoot some instructional content and some teaching tips with the longtime NHL goalie coach. Star pupils include the likes of Roberto Luongo, Sergei Bobrovsky, Jacob Markstrom, Thatcher Demko, obviously time with the Vancouver Canucks, couple different stints, and the Columbus Blue Jackets. It's hard to think of someone who's had a bigger impact on the game from a coaching perspective. And it's not just the big names in the NHL. It's all the instructional content that he's produced over the years, the old projects like From The Crease and the Goalie News, which is how I got introduced to goaltending, working with him on that. I mean, it has impacted the game, not just here in North America, but all over the world. I remember seeing the Swedish goalie manual and seeing illustrations that I recognized from the Goalie News. And so the impact he had on his time working when Marcus Naslund brought him over to Modo to work with their goalie coaches. You talk to goalie coaches all over the place that have been impacted, that have mentored under him, that are now working at the highest levels of the game. So it was a chance. There's a project coming up, so I can't tell you what it's about. That's a secret, but a chance to reconnect with him a little bit in both video format at ingoalmag.com for some teaching tips that I know goalies and goalie coaches will find valuable, as well as just a quick conversation at the end of that day of shooting video where we sort of talked about the writing and the instructional content he's produced and sort of the roots of it and the roots of him as a teacher, and just a chance to sort of catch up with where he's at with all those things. So we figured we'd hit record on it and bring you a little short podcast interview to sort of catch you up in Clark's world.
Enjoy a little tidbit of what's to come with Ian Clark on InGoal Radio, the podcast.
I want to talk a little bit about your history as a teacher. From the Crease was pretty much a how-to Bible for goaltenders. Goalie News is how we met, and it continued sort of that teaching in print and through written word and illustrations, along with some editorial, which allowed me to learn the position. I'm curious, why? Goalie coaches coach, privates, you had a huge business. Why share so much with everyone through the written word?
For me, I think one of the attributes that I had was the ability to break a skill down into manageable increments. And a lot of the time we see coaching and it's a very much go do that. And the understanding of why we're asking that athlete to go do that just wasn't there. And so I really began to study the not just the how, but the why. And then break that how down into manageable increments that were digestible for the layperson. And so, it was the original From the Crease was, very much obviously a work of passion. I guess my whole career has been a work of passion. But the opportunity to share with people the incremental steps that it takes to build a skill. You just can't. There's so many micro skills within a goaltending technique that just saying to a goaltending athlete, go do that, and that athlete could be 9 years old, or that athlete could be, maybe they're more advanced and they're 16, or maybe they're in NHL. Well, I've coached the entire spectrum, and I've watched NHL goalies have difficulty processing and understanding why they're doing what they're doing. And so the ability to really get a person, a learner, a student, to understand why they're trying to achieve what they're trying to achieve is fundamental to their journey. And, it's it was always philosophically in me that was the right approach, whether that was a learned trait of mine or whether it was just something that was innate in me. It's just always something that I believe. So I really tried to, really put down on paper, through the written word, as you say, document how each of these skills is built, the building blocks of each one of them in a cohesive package.
So that's what I loved. Like when I got introduced to the position through you, it was through reading and editing a lot of those articles. And they were verbose at times. They were long. You had to make sure you focus, like you're reading, like you're trying to learn anything. You had to focus on it. But if you came through the other side of it, you understood every element. It wasn't just, as you said, go do this because I'm the teacher. You understood why angle over depth made sense, why it was the way to go.
do you have a teach? Like, I've never asked you this question. Do you have is there a teaching background in there that allowed this to come through?
No, I did start coaching goalies when I was 14 years old, believe it or not. And I'm not sure if you're even familiar with this name, but one of the very first specialized goaltending schools was Vic Lemaire's goaltending school. And my parents sent me to Vic's as a young goalie, and I did multiple years at Vic's. And one of my first coaches at Vic's was Paul Fricker, who of course is the Vancouver Giants goaltending coach, and Frick and I we spent a lot of time together, and I became an instructor. I got invited to be a summer coach, summer instructor, junior instructor at Vic's camps at 14, and I was with Vic for a couple of years, and then I moved on, and I was asked to be the goaltending coach for Danny Gare's hockey training centers on Vancouver Island, and then I was. I moved on, and Brent Barry, who ran the UBC hockey school, asked me to build a goaltending program at UBC, and I don't know if you were with me at the Q&A at Tendy Fest the one time when the person brought the evaluation. It was like, it was, I can't remember how many pages it was, all handwritten. But, it was just something that I guess I don't have a degree in teaching, but I do have, as I said, I have this, innate ability to break skills down into the incremental pieces or digestible components that, and the order that you want to build that skill over the course of time. And so that's really what my history was as far as, honing my craft as a coach as early as that. I literally have coached goalies, if you go all the way back to my junior instructor days, for going on, 46 years?
With that, with time comes generations. And I got into it at Goalie News. Original From The Crease predated me. There's going to be people listening to this podcast that don't know what Goalie News is because they've come into it later. For those that don't know what the original From The Crease was, outline it for me. Like, just explain it because I don't think people realize that you essentially wrote a manual on how to goaltend.
Yeah, I think
some people don't.
Yeah, I think it certainly was. It ultimately resulted in over 1,000 pages of technical content. And the way the original From The Crease was built, it was purely technical. There was an advertisement on the inside front cover. There was an advertisement on the inside back cover and on the back cover of the actual each periodical. Other than that, it was 100% technique. It was also fully comprehensive from technique on the ice, tactics on the ice. It had goaltender physiology. It had goaltender psychology. We had a section. And so we really tried to, provide 360-degree development for the goaltenders. And it had a section for beginners. It had a section for more advanced goalies. It was
a periodical.
It was a periodical. Came out 6 times per year, 36 pages of content, and it came out 6 times per year.
Designed to be combined into a binder, right? Like, it was designed to sort of be not like a magazine where you read it and you're done with it. Like Goalie News was sort of read, although I do have a stack of them at home, but it was designed to be kept.
Yes, it was. We used thicker paper. The pages were perforated. You got a binder with your subscription, and you were able to file in progressive order with troubleshooting indexes all of the content, all 1,000 pages, all 5 volumes. It was 5 volumes, over 1,000 pages of technical content. And, at the time, essentially most goalie coaches in the world subscribed to it. And it was, I would say, looking back in time, a lot of the things that we brought to the fore in From The Crease, we see in today's goaltenders globally. So it's...
I've seen the Swedish manual, and there are illustrations in there that I very much recognize from Goalie News, which of course came from The Crease.
And so one of the things we tried to do with From The Crease is not only did we try to break the skills down editorially, but we had fantastic illustrations that would, pinpoint those specific positions within each skill that were super important. And by year 3 we had FTC Interactive happening, which was in the year, I guess that was in the year 2000, that included an online component to your subscription that had multi-angle video, slow motion video. And so one of the things we really tried to do with it was appeal to different types of learners, because of course people learn differently. Some people love all that content. Some people love all that detail. Some people prefer summary content and more visual. And so we tried to really, try to hit different learning methodologies and how we presented the material. So it was, we really tried to make it very practical. And the subtitle to the original From the Crease was The Self-Development Guide to Hockey Goaltending. And as you know, through all of our years together, I am a big advocate of the phrase that you have to be your own best goalie coach. This doesn't take away from all the great goalie coaches that are out there. Okay, that's not what we're talking about. Goalie coaches are often with their goalies once a week, a couple times a month. Maybe a goalie is lucky enough to have more than that. The bottom line is only the goalie is there in every moment. So the goalie has to be the commander-in-chief of their game. And so it's always been a philosophy. I've been a goalie coach for a long time. I go to every goalie I coach and I say, listen, I'm the assistant goalie coach here. You're the head goalie coach of your game. Only you are there in every moment. Okay? Only you are there under the spotlight. Only you are there in front of the fans. Only you have the responsibility for your mates. And so it's always been a philosophy. So the original From the Crease was From the Crease, the Self-Development Guide to Hockey Goaltending, because I really wanted to share with young goaltenders the ability to drive development, drive their own development. That's not to say without a goalie coach. Goalie coach is very important to support that developmental process. But there's too many moments, too many repetitions that are done with no one looking. And so that's where the goalie had to have the information. They had to have the understanding. They had to have the why. Why am I doing this? And that was the big mission of the original From the Crease.
I don't think I've ever told you this either, but the reason that ProReads at InGoal magazine has almost like a written sort of, here's the scenario, what do you think? Like we write it all out every week and put like freeze frames rather than and we also put the ability to just say, take me to the video. I just want to see the NHL goalie breaking down the save. But the reason we make sure we keep the other component was that same lesson that I learned from you. Everybody learns differently. Some people are visual. Some people want to read it to process it. So we try and present it in multiple different ways. So that's a hat tip, a stick tap, as they say, to the lessons from Goalie News and our time together. So I'm going to leave it at that. I couldn't help but notice you said the original From the Crease a couple of times. I think we just leave that as a little blind tease for folks. I know you've been busy. There might be something coming. Stay tuned.
Thanks very much.
Anytime he's talking, it's must listen, right?
Yeah, he really has. And I kind of set it up there a little bit because we were talking about sort of his past writing. This really was just an interview focused on reminding people of the roots of his instructional content. And so I'm not sure anybody's produced more, Darren. Like, and it kind of puts him in a spot to talk about himself, and I'm setting him up in an almost uncomfortable manner. I'm pumping his tires and then I'm asking him to keep pumping. But honestly, has anybody produced more teaching content than Ian Clark? There's a lot of great goalie coaches, a lot of like legends of the game, the Mitch Korns, the Allaire brothers. There's so many great, so many. But in terms of actually just like taking that, putting pen to paper and sharing it, even though, there were subscriptions from the Crease and InGoal magazine, there was a business component to it. But I'm not sure anybody's ever shared more with other goalies in the game on an individual basis, because I like to pat ourselves on the back. I think InGoal shares a ton. But then Ian Clark through those two publications. So, maybe more to come, and certainly more to come with the videos that we've got online at InGoal magazine now.
And the rollout of Ian Clark's next project, or what's to come, it's
coming. That's all I can say. It's coming.
That narrows it down because it's pretty good.
It is going to be really good. But again, I'm going to stop talking now before I violate an NDA.
And you will.
I will if I keep talking. You're trying to get me to keep talking.
Well, I was just gonna. One of the great interview techniques that I've learned over the years is just be quiet,
Silence.
and let the person fill the void.
And there's nobody that wants to fill voids when it comes to talking more than me.
Got a lot in today, buddy. Goalie goals and returns from injuries to the wonderful big news of the trade. Lots to get into, and I think we did an economical job of sorting our way through it.
We there was a lot on our plate today. We got it done. Can't wait to have Hutch back in the near future. It's a busy time of year for everyone, but we're getting there, folks. Enjoy. I guess we have one more before Christmas?
One more.
I was gonna say Merry Christmas, but I guess we got one more.
Well, you can still say Merry Christmas.
Well, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Hey, if I don't see you, Happy New Year in 2038. Okay.
Okay.
Just along that vein.
Let's just say that when I do officially wish everyone a Merry Christmas, don't hate me for this, but when I do on next week's podcast, it may be more of a Melekalikimaka.
I'm being silent now because I'm angry. Have a good week, everybody. Enjoy goaltending and make sure you correspond with us. Something's on your mind? Let us know. Something you want to know more about? Ask us, and certainly give us your equipment experience, what you like, and maybe something you'd like to try. It's InGoal Radio, the podcast, brought to you by The Hockey Shop, source for sports Langley, thehockeyshop.com.